Connor's got, oh, he's got the little boy.
Just get off the golf course?
No, then we got babysitting today.
Oh.
Marcus's son. I
didn't-
apologize.
You're right.
We're still on time.
Really.
Yeah.
I missed the meeting completely, so
Yeah.
I can't say a word the whole year.
Well, we're still teasing him about that.
Oh, no. But you said you forgave me.
We did,
beautifully.
absolutely. We did, absolutely.
All right, so, all right, we'll roll call.
Here. Here.
Here.
Here,
Here.
All right, what we're going to do is we're going to pledge to the flag. We'll have a moment of silence. And then what I would like to do, we'll wait on the minutes approval until more commissioners show up. And once we finish a moment of silence, we're going to go up the street and look at the property for a Dog's Day Out for zoning rewrite evening. All right, so at this time, let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Remain standing for a moment of silence, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, a moment of silence, please. All right, thank you. All right, this time we're going to go ahead and walk up and look at the property in reference to a Dog's Days Out rezoning. All right, and then we will come back here for our regularly scheduled 7 o'clock meeting. All right, thank you.
let's have him made. Matt,
Good.
do you have
Thank
one?
you. I do not. All right, we're going to go ahead and open up citizens' time as a continuation of the meeting we called to order at 6. So if there's any citizen that would like to address the Planning Commission, if you'd be kind enough to step to the podium, state your name and address.
Okay. Evening, members of the Planning Commission. Bob Weir, 6853 St. Paul Drive. To be honest with you, I'm a little disappointed that I'm here to speak on this matter because, quite frankly, it's my view that the rezoning application for Fayette Street shouldn't even be at this stage and shouldn't be heard tonight. There are so many issues with it. So I'll just give you a quick rundown of what I'm seeing here and why this thing really needs to be returned to the applicant and worked on some more before consideration. First and foremost, the zoning ascribed to that plat within the comp plan is transitional commercial. It is not B1. If you're going to do a B1 rezoning to that property, it needs to have a comp plan amendment accompanying it. There's no quicker way to get it challenged than to not have a comp plan amendment with it, especially one where it's non-compliant with the comp plan. Number two, the transitional commercial zoning was somewhat of a step down from B1, and it was done intentionally to provide a buffer between the residential and the commercial. And as such, certain uses are not allowed. By putting the B1, or by rezoning that to B1, you sort of eviscerate a number of the protections that are put in place for the TC district. Moreover, the uses that are delineated in the application don't fit within the B1 district. If you go to the definitions in the zoning section, we actually define kennel. We don't define a pet shop or a dog beauty parlor, but we do define a kennel. And a kennel means any place in which more than 3 dogs more than 6 months of age are kept, or any number of dogs are kept for the purpose of sale or retail, or in connection with boarding, care, or breeding. So if anybody's keeping a dog there overnight, It's a kennel. It's a kennel by definition, and we only allow kennels in one zoning district, the I-1. It's an industrial use. So you can't put that use in a B1 district. And I would point out again that the allowable uses under 58-177, and the one that's being used in this instance to justify the business, are pet shops or dog beauty parlors, provided that any workrooms, cages, or pens are maintained within a completely enclosed soundproof building. I would also point to the preamble of that section of the code where it states that a building or land in the B1 district shall be used exclusively, and I underscore the word exclusively, for one or more of the following uses, number 10 being the use for the pet shop. So you've got several issues here. You've got a rezoning application without an accompanying comp plan amendment that's required for this. You've got an application for a B1 use that isn't exclusively a B1 use, and indeed contains a portion of which is an industrial use, at least by the town's definitions. And if this thing goes forward, I have a suspicion that you're going to run into any number of issues further down the road, potentially even with a BZA appeal. So if it were my decision, I would send this back to the applicant and have them do more work and submit a complete application and one that comports with the town zoning ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak?
Hello, my name's Lisa Bailey, and I'm talking in reference to my mom, Shirley Bailey, that owns the property next door to the property that's proposed for the daycare, or doggy daycare. In our opinion, she and I, we really don't want it. It's just plain and simple. Unfortunately, our small town is not a small town anymore. We have a lot more congestion. We have a lot more traffic. We have a lot more everything coming. It's becoming a city instead of a small town, country town that we're used to. My mom is set in her ways. She is an elderly, disabled lady that doesn't like a lot of noise. I have a little dog. Some of you might, that goes up and down my street, might hear it a little bit. And that thing's noisy enough that if we had 40 to 50 more dogs, it would drive Mom up the wall. But plain and simple, I was asked to come down here on her behalf and to explain to everybody that being here, she's been here at that same residence for 54, 55 years. I've been here going on 50. And we really opposed of the idea. I mean, I did talk to the people that were out there a couple weeks ago. I think it was myself, my husband. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. That's when my mom had said, go over and see what's going on. And it all sounded nice. It really does. It sounds like, you have a good idea. But to be honest, that idea is not a good idea beside our house. For one example, not knocking Giuseppe's or anything, but everything that happens on this side of our property, we hear it. Giuseppe's goes and they dump a bag of trash. We hear it at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. It echoes into our house. Traffic, 66th, and that battering ram that's digging for the construction over there. And Mom is just to the point that she just can't stand any kind of noise or any of that. And I know that I was told that the noise level would be to a minimum, but we just don't want to take that chance just in case. But I was asked to come down here to give our honest opinion, and the more we thought about it, the growth of Haymarket right now is just getting ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. You can't get out of our road. You can't, it's just, bottom line is we oppose of the idea of having this brought up beside our house. And I hope that you strongly think about it. I mean, it's a good idea, but not a very good idea beside our property in our neighborhood, in that vicinity. If you have any more questions for me, everybody knows how to get a hold of me, and I'll be glad to talk to you. But as a given, I'm not a very good public speaker, so I apologize if I sound like I'm rambling, but we oppose of the idea. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Lisa.
All right, anyone else like to speak? All right, you folks are on citizens' time here, so you want to come up and...
We're not a citizen of the town, is that not?
Well, no, ma'am, any citizen can speak. So there is no place for a presentation built in, but I'm willing to let you.
Well, they are a topic of discussion tonight. so
Correct.
When the item comes up on the agenda, they're certainly welcome to
Right, at that
respond
point,
to.
but not at this point, unless they want to speak on citizens' time.
Can we speak to the comments that have already been made, or?
Well, if you're going to do that, I would rather wait till we get down to the rezoning,
Okay, then we'll.
to respect everybody's time. All right, any other citizen? All right, seeing none, we'll close citizens' time. Thank you. I appreciate those of you that came out. All right, announcements. And thanks, ma'am. Can anybody have an announcement? All right, ARB and Town Council update.
Yes, sir. So with the town council, we're in the process of going through and looking at applications for a new town manager. In the meantime, right now, we do have an interim town manager, Jerry Shiro, that just started yesterday, the 9th of August. We're in the process of knocking out Haymarket Day with town staff and Miss Denise. And I just want to say a big thank you to town staff as well as Miss Denise for doing such a great job. Everything's lining up slowly but surely. Love for you all to come out and sit in the committee meetings with that, and that is 2 Mondays to last Monday, so the 22nd. Love for you all to come out and sit down and talk. That's going to be the 22nd at 2 o'clock. We're going to have our next meeting in regards to Haymarket Day. The caboose deck, we're looking to bring another side of stairs on the other side of the caboose deck to be able to have access from both sides from the parking lot of the Haymarket Museum as well as from the walkway. And we are in the final phases of reviewing the final site plan, the final site plan for the town center remodel is going to be submitted soon. They're in the final phases of completing it, then it will come in front of us to look at. And nothing for the ARB. Any questions?
The meeting for Haymarket Day is here at the town?
Yes, ma'am.
So 22nd?
2 p.m., right?
22nd, 2 p.m.
All right, well, thank you, sir. We appreciate that.
Pleasure.
All right, new business. Do we have any new business, Marchant?
No, sir.
Okay. All right, moving on to old business, the Dog's Day Out rezoning. So Marchant, we'll let you kick this off for us, please.
Okay. We've just conducted the site visit today. We went and, for the record, we toured the property with the commissioners, walked through the revised narrative that the applicant has provided in response to public comments received last month at the hearing, and also the follow-up conversations the commission had the day after the public hearing at your regularly scheduled meeting the following day. So this evening, we were looking for any additional questions or feedback, or if you're ready to make a recommendation to the town council. So you can certainly respond to any questions that you have about any of the public comment. And obviously, the applicant's here to answer any questions.
The one question I had was and I know y'all done your due diligence, what the chances are of using the backside of the property for entry and exit. Was that checked?
I don't want to answer for the applicant.
So with Guy Gravitt, the past conversations I had about this topic, they're willing to negotiate or talk to you about the potential, but it would not be I don't believe would be a condition of this application, other than they're not precluding the opportunity in the future to provide a connection if they wanted to. So, and that has a lot of, there's a lot of other hurdles to be able to get through the backside of the property out to a public street. So it is, they've not precluded that opportunity, but I don't believe the fairgrounds is in a position to definitively say yes or no.
Okay.
And unlikely, if this was to be approved, that's unlikely to be stood up anytime soon to be of any utility. So,
Thank you.
I had a concern about, and I thought we were going to see Chief Noble address this. Basically, it was the amount of traffic generated in the morning and in the evening, drop-off and pickup times, turning into and leaving Fayette Street, that can pose, to me, an insurmountable problem. It's already difficult at certain times to take a left turn out of Fayette Street. Basically, it may be difficult in the near future to take a right turn if that interchange, or as it progresses, the amount of traffic that's building up there now during the day, although that may not be true in the morning or in the evening. It's certainly true at noon. Those were concerns that I think some of the neighbors expressed, and might have been some of the problems that they saw for, or some of the reasons that they expressed negative feelings about having this particular establishment as part of their neighborhood. I still have that concern. I did hope that Chief Noble would be here.
and I apologize that we did not coordinate that ahead of time.
Driving over tonight, and again, I apologize for not being here right at 6 o'clock. I just recently I've been checking on, since I come down up and down that road probably 4 or 5 times a day, to include as early as 5:30 in the morning when I go to work, of which obviously there's never an issue. This morning I left at 6:30. There were only a couple of cars there. And it's not the cars ahead of me that so much as the traffic on Washington there and trying to get out. If you're trying to make a left, today I sat there, I timed it 4 minutes and 56 seconds before I could get out. And that was at 5 minutes till 6. Realizing that that's probably not going to be your optimum time. I mean, you're probably not going to have a lot of people in here at that time. But again, the traffic on Washington Street, and now with the opening of Chick-fil-A, I know of a number of people, family members, that drive from Gainesville now to come to this Chick-fil-A, and it's anomaly because it's brand new. That's one reason they want to do it. They'll probably be going to the other one later on. But the amount of traffic up and down Washington Street is a concern for me, just for anyone going out trying to go left. So that's still a concern, and that's and unfortunately there's 2 lanes there, one coming in, one going out. Sometimes people will move over to the left a little bit so if they see somebody behind them, they can squeeze by to the right and make that right. But it's actually unlawful to do that because that's 2 lanes there. It's not 3 lanes. So that's still just one of my concerns of anyone trying to go out and go left, especially.
Any other comments?
I would like to have time to consider Mr. Weir's comments, objections, discuss it, and research it, actually.
Yeah, looking, I apologize,
no,
looking in the I-1 on number 11, I apologize for not doing my due diligence. Veterinary or dog or cat or hospital kennels is listed there on the I-1. So directing this question to Marchant.
So if you look at what you look at the definition of beauty parlor, which talk about cages, you look at the way right now in the B1 district, we have a veterinary hospital, the Healthy Paws that's down the way. They provide as an additional service the kennel. This is not, its primary function of this facility is not the kennel, it's doing the watching of the animals during the day. And this was the most closely aligned use that we had in the ordinance to meet what the intent of this use was meant to be. Part of the new ordinance, the dog, for lack of a better term, doggy daycare is an up-and-coming sort of business and facility. It's not solely a kennel, it's not solely a beauty salon, it's a mix of the two. And based on the way they described their operation, this was most closely aligned with. So in terms of parking, he based on the kennel, had suggested the parking at a higher rates. Based on the commercial use that would be associated with the dog parlor, it would be a lesser amount. They're actually over parking at 17. With terms of the comprehensive plan amendment that he had mentioned, is it prudent to have a plan amendment to match it? Yes. I think that would be a different scenario if you were to go from residential, for instance, the fairground rezoning that's coming in. There's no in residential anticipated in any capacity there. And so when you're introducing a significant change in the nature of the land use, in that sense, it makes more sense to have a comprehensive plan amendment. But in this case, we anticipate a certain level of commercial uses, and the exclusion of uses that the applicant is looking at is meant to address what is meant to be the transitional commercial nature, less intensive uses along Fayette Street. So that's why I did not make a determination that a plan amendment was necessary as part of this exercise. So that is my response to Mr. Weir's comments. So.
All right, thank you. Other? All right, here's what I would like to do. If we could turn to page 7, we're going to kind of work backwards, because I know we had the public hearing a while back and people voiced concerns. I think we can all agree that traffic and noise seems to be the two ones that we keep coming back. Everybody agree on that?
And also changing the zoning actually 2 steps from residential to B1 is also a concern. It's not, I mean, zoning is always a serious issue.
Correct.
So when you take a 2-step versus a 1-step, to me, you really need to do due diligence and definitely consider it. And I think that's part of what we heard from the voices of the people who have spoken, is addressing that issue. So I would add that as one of the concerns.
Okay. All right, allergens. I mean, in my viewpoint, there's more allergens in an uncut field. So to me, this was kind of a stretch.
I agree.
All right, so we're going to, I mean, views from adjacent properties, again, I'm sympathetic to people lived here for 50 years, but it's 2016, and it's never going to go back 50 years. As much as when I came through and it was Route 55 and Haymarket and Gosselms is gone, and if we use that rationale, we would never build a Chick-fil-A. There'd be a lot of things. Most of us wouldn't even be in our homes if we use that rationale, because my home wouldn't be built, and probably most of the citizens. So views from adjacent properties, I mean, what do you all think about that?
There's a 10-foot buffer on every,
Right.
on the western side and northern.
All right, and they did reorient the building to where the parking in the front of the building, so in theory, the only place they would see a dog is going in and out of the place. What I'm trying to do is whittle down
The objections.
the objections to where we can really focus on,
Pardon me, I think the Paynes have done an excellent job in every aspect of this, with the exception of the one that I mentioned before, and that they don't have any control over,
Right.
and that's traffic.
right,
The view from the building, I mean, architecturally, you have engineering-wise, you have do your due diligence. I think in a sense, we're just stalling off what we know we have to do, and that's vote on this.
Well,
Vote
I'm
to
not trying to
accept it.
stall, I'm trying to do due diligence.
Yeah, I appreciate that. The families with children walking on Fayette Street, the dogs don't run free. They would be,
Right.
obviously, we saw a woman walking a dog tonight. Dog was well behaved, better than our dog, that's for sure. But, that was probably a greater threat than people dropping their dogs off at this property or picking their dogs up at this property.
Right.
So I don't know if that would be a concern.
Right.
Views from adjacent property, I think, you try to do the best you can with your property and make it look decent, so, as long as it's not polka dotted, I suppose, we're grateful our neighbors haven't done that.
Right. And then again, what I'm trying to do is look at this objectively from every angle, which I know we all are. But if we use the adjacent property and what it looks like, then we have our own mess across the street, and we all look at that every day.
I see, I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. The design is ARB compliant. The conceptual building is nice
Right.
looking. It's an ARB compliant design. So to me, that's not an issue.
Right.
That's not an issue I have.
I just see two, and again, I applaud the work that's been done, absolutely. Because some of my concerns I certainly addressed.
Sure.
The families with children, well, that's not really a concern of mine. I walk my dog down that street and usually don't pass too many people walking. During school, I'm sure that'll be different. My concern is noise. The barking dogs, the two dogs across the street, you could hear them, they're inside, and I understand they don't have a sound baffling in there. But my concern is when they're outdoors. If you're having, and I forgot how many we said, no more than 15 dogs at a time, I think, and from my house where I'm located, not an issue. But that would be my concern about not only the Baileys, but I forgot the people next to them. That was their main concern when they talked to me, was they both mentioned traffic, but they were more concerned about the barking, the noise.
Right.
I don't know if they're home during the day. I know Miss Bailey's mom is home during the day. She's wheelchair bound and she don't go. So that's really the only two issues that I see are the noise itself when they're outdoors, and just how tough it is to get out here on Washington Street already. That's my only concerns. The other things they've really addressed.
All right, as far as parking, I mean, I don't see that as a big issue with their design.
So remember, there's a site plan, there's several follow-on applications that'll be as a part of this. The site planning process that the commission, the council will review as well as the ARB will review the final design. And the site planning will also affirm the final layout, request the waivers and modifications of the landscaping standards.
Right.
So the layout was a conceptual way to address how they would address it. They obviously have ample room to where if more parking was necessary, they could provide it.
Right.
The site is not particularly constrained in that capacity. So
really it comes, I guess what I'm getting at, and I have a rationale for doing it, it really comes down, I mean, Mrs. Carroll brings up a good point about rezoning. I mean, that's a valid point. And the traffic and the noise. I mean, the others, I think, are,
I think they're mitigated.
right.
I really do. Just-
And if I'm sitting in the applicant, I want to have an answer sooner rather than later. I mean, I can appreciate that. On this side, we have to make sure that the answer we give them is well thought through, and it's not our opinion. So, and without the chief here to speak on the traffic, he would be the expert on traffic in the town. And without a formal study, we can all go out there and set our watches. I mean, I know getting out of Blake, I've sat there for 6 or 7 minutes making a left. So I just want to make sure when we, and again, we're just a recommendatory agency, a board, that the council has the final say. What I would like to do, now that we've basically whittled down this, if there's no objections, is to do one last work session and try to do some research on this, talk to the chief within the next couple weeks, call some, kennels and say, hey, we all get like how many dogs you run out there? Because I did talk to a kennel, and they said they have 50 dogs out there and they don't bark, which I was shocked, but that's what they told me. So I'm not really interested in the video. I'm more interested in just us doing our due diligence. And then the traffic component obviously is a big component. But none of us, well, you would be the most traffic expert amongst us by expertise, by job. But I really think it comes down to 3 issues. The transitional commercial, which we need to think long-term, not just this project, but long-term down the road. Where do we envision Haymarket going 20 years from now? And then the traffic, and then the noise.
I agree. I heard what Marshawn said. I'm still have that concern too. What I would hate to do is pass something to the town council and to find out that it won't fly because of a zoning issue.
Right.
I mean, that's, I don't know if
So ultimately, the burden is on me to make the determination
Okay.
whether it meets the zoning ordinance or not. Certainly, that is open to appeal and challenge. But my determination has been that this mostly closely aligns with the dog parlor use. Mr. Weir and I have a long-standing relationship. I'm sure we will debate that interpretation, but that's, if the due diligence of the zoning determination, I can certainly come back with a more formal explanation of that and a determination for you to that effect.
well, you would tell the council the same thing you just told us. So.
Correct. So,
Okay.
I think the big one with that, though, is that the dogs do stay there overnight, correct? If they choose to. I mean, most of them get dropped off and get picked up when the owners come home. But at the same time, it's if 3 or more dogs are staying there overnight.
So you have 2 parts of it. When you look at the licensing, and that's certainly something that if there's a requirement for licensing, that's not uncommon to have to deal with. With being 3 or more, I looked at it as an accessory. The dominant is not a dominant use as a kennel. It's not a dominant use as a veterinary clinic. When we look how the Haymarket or the Healthy Paws is operated, they have a kennel service or an overnight service that they offer. It's not their primary. It's their secondary sort of operation. So I'd be more concerned if it was strictly a kennel and no other function. But in this case, I would look at it as kind of an accessory use to that. But again, I can provide a more formal response and determination to you next month or in the next work session.
I think the applicants could give us some idea of how much money will be coming into them for kenneling versus for beauty treatments, because they'll be taking in the money for the dogs.
I think it's,
Well,
again, I'll provide
percentage-wise.
more, correct. When I look at more beauties, that if, it's one thing, I guess, we can argue or debate the standard of a kennel. Does a kennel mean overnight or any defined period of time? I don't think we're looking at the definition in particular.
I think we're
boarding
all
or something like that.
We're all understanding that it's mainly a beauty parlor per se, but it still has a fact that it has that overnight accessory to it. So
Component,
I understanding that it's an accessory, it's a component, it's not the main function, but it's still there.
And we have a precedent in town for allowing that sort of accessory accommodation, and that's why I made my determination. to
I agree.
that.
And my rebuttal to that would be that one's on Main Street. I mean, it's on 55 sitting there.
The other one we have in town is the, I just forgot, the one on Polish Pooch. And I'm not doing due diligence to see if they have any sort of overnight accommodations as well. I don't believe it's not as, if they do, it's probably an anomaly more than a regular sort of.
That's on
Jefferson Street, yes.
How, it's hard to say what the possibilities are for overnight stay, but how many are you prepared to keep overnight at any one time?
It depends. I mean, the largest location for
Could you use the microphone? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
The largest location for a dog stay out has had 75 overnight dogs. Largest. They're 10,000 square feet, so they're considerably larger than what we're at. Most of the ones that are in more of the suburbs, like Ashburn, they keep like 35 dogs a night.
I drove by there and sat out there for a while and everything, too.
Okay.
Didn't see any issues, but,
Yep.
okay.
So when you're building yours, what are you building it to occupy for a night?
We could occupy 75 dogs a night if we needed to. We'll have enough kennels to accommodate 75 dogs. That would happen maybe 2 weeks a year.
Yeah, on a blue moon. But I just want to know what you're building it to be able to occupy overnight.
We checked with the county, because the county would ordinance how many dogs we could have to accommodate, as long as we have enough kennel space, individual kennels for those dogs to be in overnight. There is no limitation in the county. So.
Sorry. I had another afterthought. I don't want to ruin your line of questioning, though.
I've been to the one in Ashburn, and that's very, very quiet. There's no noise issue. But there are no dogs outside, and it is in an industrial area. Just those are the factors. But in terms of noise, it was incredibly quiet.
I found the same thing.
Just
Realize now that there is no dogs outside, but I found the same thing.
So one of the things I could offer the commission is part of the rezoning, or not rezoning, but the ordinance rewrite, the zoning ordinance rewrite, was accommodating this use because it is a prevalent use that we see throughout the region. And it would be an allowable use within the B1 zoning district. I believe it might be in the TC as well. I'll have to go back and look at the draft. So remember you had the draft list that we had gone through, looking at potential permitted uses and special exception uses in each of those districts. And this was a use that was anticipated as part of it. If there is an issue with having not having the kennel option or accessory specifically defined, if you want to move on that action sooner rather than later, in other words, rather than waiting for the zoning ordinance to be officially amended, if you wanted to track a ordinance amendment with this application as well, if that's your only objection, is not, you have these other factors that you're looking at right now, the traffic, the noise, but if it's not a use that's otherwise objectionable within the district, and you want a more definitive definition of that use, I can provide that language to you, and you can have that as part of your recommendation to the council, if that's what you so choose. So, does that make sense what I'm suggesting? I've most closely aligned it with this definition. If we want a more robust definition of this use, I can provide it, and we can move that forward.
So really, the noise issue would be the outside component. All the dogs in the buildings with the noise reduction.
That sound baffling they'll have in there, that would take care of that. That would mitigate the noise with the dogs inside, I think.
So with your, as applicants, with your business model, let's say we came back with no dogs outside, could you run your business, or would that be a
So we had two areas that were going to be outside. One was a dog park, right? That was a large fenced-in area that was going to be on the backside of the property. And then we have a covered porch area that's attached to the facility, right? That we were going to fence in the sides of those so that the dogs could have some fresh air outside and have a place to relieve themselves when they need to, if they want to go outside to do that. So we took out, if you look at the drawings there, the illustrative drawings, we took out the outdoor large dog park. And we're only asking for the covered area now at this point.
Which is on the left side of the.
Correct, which would be adjacent to JVL3 and Giuseppe's.
How many dogs could that accommodate?
Could accommodate a lot more than what we plan to put out there. I think we said 15 for 30 minutes at a time instead of 50.
Would there be noise abatement in that covered area?
The same stuff that we use inside, if it gets wet, it drips and is destroyed, so there.
I can answer that one.
Okay.
Steve Wagner, architect. There are sound panels.
On the microphone, please.
If you've ever been in any of the local swimming pool areas, look up, and there's panels that they hang from the rafters. Those are sound panels, and they actually help too, because inside a pool area is the same way. It's all hard surfaces. So they use those panels to reflect some of the sound back. Well, in these facilities, I'm doing Middleburg Humane Foundation's facility out in Marshall, which is the same concern. They're going to put 200 houses around it, and they've got dog runs on it. All of them, we have hanging panels. They're going to be over top of each of the dog runs, and these are literal outside dog runs. Those sit over top, and they absorb the sound. If the dogs do bark, they pick up the sound, and so up inside in the roof area up top there would be hanging panels. And all they are, that's just one. And they can be wet. They're made to be outside. In any of those facilities, Fauquier County's SPCA, that's a vaulted ceiling over top. They have them over top of there also. And that's also just a way it helps to keep the sound barrier down.
So is there any, like, percentage you could give me, let's say, a dog's bark, about what would be abated? I'm just curious. I know that's an odd question, but, you know, like, if somebody asked me how much abatement.
We haven't gone that far into the design.
Okay,
Yeah, it
that's
depends on how many of
fine.
the panels you put up. I mean, and that's how you do it. And that's why most of the times with a lot of the facilities, Fauquier SPCA, when I designed that one, they didn't put them up until the facility opened. And then they added them in, and then they just kept it until it kept the sound to, you know, because you have workers who are in there all
Right.
the time. They're the same thing. They don't, you know, they can't put up with having the sound. So these sound abatements are put in, and they do the same thing on the outside runs. They put them over top, and that stops, you know, any of them. It helps, you know, on the ones.
So, sir, in your expert opinion, since you deal with this, could you build a run that would accommodate 15 dogs with these sound barriers, if you will, that would make it where somebody 60, 70 feet away really wouldn't be impacted by dogs?
It depends on what you call how they're impacted. You know, one person's how they're impacted compared to someone else's.
I understand that.
That's you know, that's a personal. I can say how much we bring the decibel down. So that's the big difference. How we always look at it. Just like road traffic, the other one, if you have it down at 20 decibels or 50 decibels of those, that's how we look at sound.
Well,
Not as, you know, a high-pitched dog, because it'll reduce the sound of a high-pitched dog, you know, barking. But, you know, that's, so if you're asking me, could we reduce it down to 35 decibels? Yes. Or could we reduce it down? I can't tell you that, you know, somebody walking by, if they think that's a shrill of a dog versus someone else who doesn't know that. It's all in a person's.
I understand. Somebody could see a dog walk by and not bark at all and swear it's barking. I mean, you can say whatever you want. I'm just asking, like when we were standing out there, the two dogs that were in that home that we could clearly hear barking, if you had 15 dogs, would it make around that sound?
Possible, but, you know, once again, with that sound reverberating up is the sound control panels are control a lot of that. And once again, there's a 6-foot privacy fence going around it, so that's also going to control that sound, being able to bounce up. The sound control panels will catch that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to You'd have to go to a facility that has one.
So if you just arbitrarily said that there are 25 decibels of sound with no paneling, and I install one panel, I would reduce that by 10%?
Over the square footage, say on each one.
Okay,
Oh,
so if
you
I
do
add
50%.
two, now I'm 20%, and so on and so forth.
Cut 50% right off the top.
All right.
Yeah, on the one. And that's what I said, they just put the panels, because then you can direct the panels where it's needed. So say on the edge where it's covered here, but then it's open, and if there was noise, you could hang the panels on this edge. If it's more, like I said, it depends where the directional. Most of them you would have it more to this end, of course, so any of the sound traveling to the street, that would be blocked and pick up that sound. Because like I said, it's all about sound absorption. But if we went out there and put in a concrete block wall and a hard ceiling on this, yeah, there's nothing. It's all going to bounce back out there, And so that was the design in the first part, that there would always be, even on the outside area, there'd be sound control. The dog park, there's no sound control, so that's why they took that out completely.
I have a question for you, ma'am. If talking sounds, now I have a Pomeranian, yelping Pomeranian. They do that a lot, especially when they get around other dogs or somebody rings our doorbell, or he thinks he hears somebody outside. The dogs across the street were labs, correct? Mm-hmm. You said you know the owners, they're
Yes.
labs. Obviously, a lot louder. If you have, this is more of an operational question, if you have dogs, some dogs are better minded than others, kind of like our children and grandkids in my case. But you have a dog that's just really just continuously barking. Would you bring that dog back in?
Probably not. Oh, you mean outside?
No, would you bring him back
To
inside?
the facility?
Yes.
If they're a constant barker, probably not. But we're going to evaluate all dogs before they're able to come into the center for a regular day, either doggy daycare or for overnight stay and boarding. Could they go in for grooming if the groomer wants to deal with a barking dog for 3 hours during their session? That's up to the groomer, I think. But
The dog is constantly barking. He goes outside and constantly barks.
he's out. Are you asking
I'm talking
outside?
about if outside, when he's outside in this covered area, even with the sound baffles there,
We'd
if you
bring
have
him
a
in.
dog that's just constantly barking,
Disrupt other.
okay, and that's my point, because that is what would happen.
Dogs go out, and
Yeah.
of them,
We
most
do.
people will be tired, and
Yep.
majority of the time they won't bark, but there might be the one, just like kids.
Sure,
that
that's-
might bark, and then you give them a timeout. Just like
Yeah,
that.
there is
Okay.
actually a specific room in the facility for timeout.
That's what I was looking for.
Yes,
For
sir.
the answer, so
Sorry.
thank you.
Misunderstood.
All right, do we have any other questions for these folks? All great questions.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, I was getting a clarification about another matter I have to bring up to you later. If I understand the nature of the discussion, we're narrowing it down to the question of outdoor noise. What is the effect of outdoor noise, correct?
Correct.
So we have a remediation that the applicant can look at. The other alternative is simply removing it from the project altogether, but it sounds like this is a key component of their plan. So that's something for them to consider about how do you, in addition to the design and reorienting the outdoor areas, how do you continue to mitigate that impact? In terms of traffic, you have a couple of options. We have the observations that the chief has. They can do a traffic memo where they can try to estimate the number of trips that come out of this use. There's the limiting other uses on the property that may be higher traffic generators. The only other option you have is to provide a traffic study, a formal traffic study, and analysis where they do traffic counts and they do peak hour measures and things like that. What I'm assuming is my assumption in light of spending that significant amount of money is it's going to be a high trip volume. And in terms of level of service, it's measured what they call the level of service. There's ratings for that level of service at the intersection. The worst case scenario would be if it did require some sort of significant remediation, like a light. We've already been told that proximity to this other light may not be a viable option. A traffic circle may not be a viable option. And so it becomes difficult for the landowner to be overcome that, or any landowner on on Fayette Street that's potentially a commercial use. So I'm not sure what the mitigation of that would be, or what assurances they could give other than not approving the use, but what other assurances they could provide you that it's not going to have it's going to have a traffic impact, but how is it negative enough to warrant not supporting the use?
Don't those speed signs that we bought, can't you track, if I remember correctly, the chief could track times a day, it's a traffic count, that was one of the components that apparatus had the ability to do, is that correct?
I can ask him about that. That sounds correct.
I'm pretty sure when we bought those with the council, the previous council that I sat on, that they actually have a lot more capability than just flashing the people that are doing 60 miles an hour when we walk our dog through town, and that he can actually count and pull data off that. So we may already have the information. We just need to talk to the chief to see what he has.
Or ask him to do that, put it
Correct.
in place for a week and get us some data, because that would
And
be.
that's simply his observations.
Yeah.
Formal study's a little more
Sure.
detailed. Another challenge we're having, too, is that interim condition that I talked about earlier with the interchange still under construction. So that's something for the commission to think about, what is it, the mitigation for this use in terms of traffic? It seems to be limited, and I'm not sure that any traffic study, other than maybe estimating, there's what they call the ITE code, which there's a formal engineering code for traffic generation, and they can provide an estimate of what the trips may be. That may be some information that's, what really is the estimated number of cars? Is it 50? Is it 100? Is it something less? That might be useful to you, and we can talk to the applicant about getting that. A formal study is much more complicated. Most of your major rezonings have those because they have such a high level. With these higher level of intensity, with these smaller lots, it's hard to really measure in any significant detail. So that's the traffic. In terms of the rezoning, what we talked about before was trying to limit the number of uses that would not be compatible in a transitional commercial setting, and then bringing back to you a more definitive definition of a dog parlor that we anticipate with the new ordinance, not a dog parlor, but a dog's day out or a doggy daycare sort of thing. So it sounds like those are the key issues we need to continue to look into for the next meeting. Does that sound correct?
Right. I would like to ask the applicants one other question. Either one of you could address it. And these other dogs day out facilities, you said how many of them are there in this immediate area?
5.
Okay, 5. Do you have access, is it public record, if you will, their peak times, where we could see it on a document where their peak times, like, let's say Christmas, Thanksgiving, or whenever?
I can see that via the financials. They provide me financials every month of all the locations so that everybody can see and project for their business. So do you want the top 3 peaks? Or is there?
I would like to see, for my benefit, is, when are the peak times? I mean, I can presuppose when they are. They're around vacations, but.
Spring break, 4th of July.
Right.
Summer is higher than typically in the fall or winter. If there's a lot of rain, like when we had 3 weeks of rain, people bring their dogs to daycare because they're not getting outside to play. Thanksgiving, Christmas, and spring break.
Well, I think that would be helpful for the traffic component, where we could all have a document to see and overlay it with school. I mean, school buses would be an issue. I just want to make sure when we make a decision, it's not our opinion, we're dealing with fact. Because I think fact, we all have our opinion, but you make better decisions with facts rather than presupposed facts. So anything we can do, I think, would help. And I think that would be a big thing, plus with the chief. Then I would feel comfortable, unless there's objection, we do the last few things and we can make a decision and not drag this out.
Yeah, we have a 90-day study period that is coming to an end in September. I think it's September.
And I would have just one other request, too. The peak times, as we just mentioned, but what about during the average day? What time in the morning is your peak time? What time is your peak time in the afternoon when they're picking the dogs up? That's a big component, in my opinion, again, because of already the traffic out here in Washington. And when school's in session, it's even a lot more traffic.
Right. So the videos that we provided actually show you an entire day
Okay.
of several days of drop off and pick up and drop off. So you could actually sit there for a couple days and look at the video.
I'm not interested in doing that. I don't have a couple days, but.
Understand, but I'm just saying we tried to provide.
Oh, and y'all have. Y'all have done your due diligence, trust me. But I'm just saying if we could have something to write what you see the peak times as.
Maybe we can
In
get
the
something
mornings,
out of the
if it's
system.
between 7 and 9, in the afternoons between 4 and 6 or whatever, that would go a long way, in my opinion, for me, not only having to come up and down that road every day,
Right.
but for rest of the residents as well.
So we can certainly do that and look at the other ones and try to come up with some kind of an average for you.
And that's what I'm asking.
The only thing to add on to that is that our hours here are extended 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. Most everybody else is open 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. But given the traffic that comes out from the city to here, folks have a longer commute. So we open earlier and we're going to stay open later in the evening. So.
And that makes sense. I understand.
But I do think, and that's a great point, the seasonal peaks, sounds like you can pull that data fairly easily, and then the time of day peaks, and then you present that to us, we can do our due diligence on the traffic with our folks here, and then,
We'll have to get an extension from the current owner of the property, because we had a 90-day study period that we are about ready to expire.
well, when is that 90-day study period up?
The 90-day study period was up in August, and we did get it extended till September 7th or 9th.
I mean, we could meet before, I'm
willing
all
to
for
meet
meeting
that,
before
absolutely,
that.
so they don't have to extend it again.
Right.
That what the question I asked, again, being a resident, Sherwood Forest, Medusa's the same boat I am, is I'm more interested in the daily peak times than I am the seasonal. The seasonal I can move around a little bit easier, but it's the daily. And I would tell you, our neighbors in the area that I've talked to, that's their concern too.
Okay.
So,
That's a fair concern.
I think there are 34 people 34 homes down there. by our
and
count.
about 72 cars total. That's, I just counted down there for the heck of it. That's just in Sherwood Forest there.
Forest,
So,
yeah. The other house, they have a couple
yeah, a
houses
couple of them have
5 or
3 and
6
4,
cars,
yeah.
parking all the way down to the street.
Yeah. So those times would be real helpful to me.
Well, I just have a question. If,
The meeting is the 7th.
knowing that this was transitional commercial, what was the town's thought of what would be going in there?
I can't speak to that.
I believe this is residential, is it not?
So currently today, it's zone residential.
Residential.
Yeah, land use map, the planned land use map anticipates transitional
Right.
commercial uses, and by their nature, they're meant to be a transition of less intense commercial uses to your core uses that we see along Washington, and then also our more intense auto uses toward 15. I could look up.
Well, I think whatever other business went in there, it's going to be the same traffic,
Right.
So I'm sorry.
potentially.
The transitional district, if they were rezoned to a transitional district, that allows bakeries, barbershops, florists, professional offices, small appliance repair shops, antique stores, farmers markets, single-family dwellings, bed and breakfast, public parks, churches, mini libraries. By special exception, secondhand retail sales, and other low-intensity commercial uses, if a finding can be made that such use will not unreasonably interfere or devalue adjacent and nearby properties. So those are kind of the breadth of the type of anticipated commercial uses in the TC district. The TC district was meant to implement the TC land use designation on the land use map. So
I would like to have an ordinance amendment to transitional, I would definitely feel more comfortable, not to business, to transitional commercial.
Zoning district, that would preclude this use as it stands today.
No, but then you were talking about, it could be an ordinance amendment, a rewrite?
Okay.
Did I not? am I-
So part of the reason, the ordinance, zoning ordinance rewrite anticipates, I believe, I can confirm, I'm pretty sure it was in the B1, I can't remember if we were going to allow in the TC district. But yes, if you wanted to add that use to the TC district to track with this rezoning application, you could do that as well.
Because what you have done is you've precluded all sorts of things, because it's business versus TC. And TC already precludes a lot of things.
Yeah.
You know, it's a more limited standard.
And that was the intent, is
Yes.
to exclude those uses that wouldn't otherwise be allowed in the TC
Right.
zoning district.
Right.
Well, I mean, in the essence of time, I mean, is it the commission's pleasure that we get the data, we take a look at the traffic, and we could, I'm willing, if it works on everybody's schedule, we could come up with a date where they're not getting another extension. I mean, really, we've drilled down to basically 3 things.
So that 90-day includes the council's decision as well. So they would have to have a decision by the council. Yeah, they would have to have a council decision. I think the council meets on the 6th. And if the council wanted to debate it some more, they would need additional time as well. So we can certainly work with you with an accelerated work session before next month's regular meeting. But I may still need to work with them to extend that period to allow the council to vote.
Well, from my viewpoint, if we were to take a vote now either way and send it to the council, we really can't give them concrete. It would just be, well, I think, my opinion.
Oh, no, that's fine. I'm not saying don't take the additional time. I'm saying if you
Right.
wanted, I'm not recommending you not take it. I'm just saying if there's an interest in holding a work session sooner than the next regularly scheduled meeting,
I mean, I'm
we can work
willing
with you to have
do
that happen.
Do we need more than a week or 10 days to do this, where we can meet again? I
Well, as
mean,
long as
I'm-
we can get the data,
Yeah, that's going to be the key. We got to get the data from the chief,
right?
and then you're going to get back with us on the peak times, not only
Yep.
seasonal, but daily. How soon can you get that information
We
to
leave
us?
for vacation on Saturday, and we're gone for a week for our family vacation, so it would be probably after that period of time.
I mean, if we met before the close of the month, and then gave it up, then we made a recommendation, the council would have, they do their homework prior to the meeting where they could look it over and formulate and submit questions, whatever. They give them a week.
Today's the 10th.
So
The 31st is a Wednesday,
31st is a Wednesday.
the last day of the month.
It's 3 weeks, from today. I'm good with whatever.
I mean, could you all do the 31st? You be in town?
I won't be. I'll be out of town.
When do you leave to go out of town?
31st. I fly to Boston.
Well, I mean, could we,
Tuesday's not good for me.
okay.
council work session's the 29th.
Okay.
Work session for the September meeting.
Okay.
Could we go to the 24th then, or is that too soon?
They're just they're on vacation for a week. So I don't think they have, I don't know.
When do you come
We
back
have
from
Chad's
vacation?
data while we're gone.
Yeah. That ruins your vacation. We don't want
Yeah,
to
we
ruin
don't
your
wanna do
vacation.
that.
We're going to be on a cruise ship, so we
Yeah.
can't.
No, it's
Get
not fair
access
to
to
ruin
the
your
data.
vacation.
No
That's all.
traffic on the cruise ship.
When do you come back from your cruise, or when do you come back from your vacation?
On the 20th.
On the 20th, okay. It's a
Are you
Saturday.
going along, Connor? Are you,
The whole end of August isn't good for me.
okay. So September,
The Outer Banks, and then I come back on the 28th, and then I leave again on the 31st for Boston.
And the 5th is Labor Day.
right.
Yeah, that ain't gonna work.
That won't work out.
Council's the 6th, we're the 7th.
We just have to do a one-man short.
Given this, I would like all of us here if possible. I mean, you're leaving on when?
The 31st.
And the council's work session is when?
It's a night
29th.
night though, so I mean, if we were to do something.
Well, there's nothing to say we couldn't, if we could convene before the council.
Not to trump his position, but he's also a council member, so
understand.
he'll have the
I
ability to
did
come to the
multiple
council.
meetings
council
on
work
one
as
night.
well. No, I'm just saying in terms
He's
of.
a lot younger than
I'm
me.
speaking for him, but not being here, he'll.
If I'm not here and I don't vote on this, I will end up voting on town council.
Right.
That was my point.
No, I understand that, but I would like your input and feedback.
If we do the 31st, can we meet early enough so that
That was my point.
Hunter would
Could we
have
do
his
that?
time? I mean, if we had a 4 o'clock meeting or 5 o'clock meeting, whatever, I'm not sure how much time we're going to need. I don't think too much time, because we'll have the couple of things we're looking for. I would think it would be a fairly short meeting.
I would think within an hour we can knock it out, don't you all?
I would hope so, with the data
I
in
mean,
place.
if they have a data, we can.
Right, I
like,
mean, the data's the data, plus
Exactly.
with the chief, I mean,
Perhaps
we
could
do
s-
4 o'clock?
4 o'clock works.
on the
7:30 out of Dulles. We'll make it work.
Okay,
That's good of you.
that's great.
All right, so what day did we decide on?
Wednesday the 31st?
Tuesday the 31st.
See the 31st at 4 PM.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to say this back to you one more time. So we're looking for traffic information on the daily peaks or of people coming and leaving the facility based on other facilities. A more detailed, I guess, description of any noise attenuation associated with the outdoor play areas that they may be able to accommodate. And some
The chief.
peak calendar times, the chief's feedback on the traffic situation, and then some language to
Or
accommodate.
zoning ordinance,
For zoning.
TC.
Okay.
I mean,
do that.
are you
And
all,
if possible, if you could email it to all the parties, even in, any time in advance, so it facilitates the meeting, if we could sort
That
of
would
have it to
help.
digest before,
We'll have a packet before the meeting as
Yeah.
well, but if it's available, we'll,
like even a couple days, then people have it and they
Do I
can.
just email it to Jennifer, or?
to Sherry.
Sherry, then she could disseminate, I mean,
That would be good.
You just don't, once it's emailed to you, you don't want to don't discuss it over.
well, we're not allowed to.
Yeah, don't discuss it
I
over.
mean,
But we can at least look
Read
at
it.
it.
Oh, no, I don't disagree. Just,
Yeah.
I have to provide that polite reminder. Email is an easy way to discuss things. We just gotta,
Well, it can be FOIA too.
yep.
Yes. All right, you all good with that?
I think we can accommodate Connor as well as the applicants here, so I think that's.
I just want to be cognizant of their time. This is drawn out, and they need a decision, and I don't want to have to see them extend, and they need a vacation, we all do. All right, are we good with that?
Yes.
All right, well, thank you, I know, appreciate your time, but it's important. All right, zoning ordinance rewrite.
Darren Coffey had submitted a draft that he wants me to scrub, and then we'll bring it to you to start
Thank
with
you,
the
folks.
debate. Same with the comprehensive. What's that?
Did you fix the language in there? I know that was one of the big.
Yes, the language regarding the definitions. He did a lot of work on changing the definitions for the suggestions of the commission. Comprehensive plan, that's just a placeholder that we continue to hold here. That's going to follow the ordinance rewrite.
Will you run this new possibility through him for the zoning ordinance rewrite as well?
Yes, ma'am.
Great.
And I'll confirm whether or not we've already put it in there, but
Great.
if not, we'll add it, so. Okay, town planner update. Most of you know the Chick-fil-A's been open. We've gotten some compliments about the design, so the dual drive-through, the interior circulation, we've gotten some feedback, so hopefully you've heard back with, well, so that was good site planning and review on the commission's part. Gotten good feedback. Traffic's, I've not really observed too much traffic. Has anyone seen more backup than normal associated with
Yeah,
it?
it's increasing.
Quite a bit.
With the
Yes,
Chick-fil-A?
quite a
Okay.
bit, yes.
I didn't know if that was the normal condition or we were adding.
It varies so much here now. Like this morning, or yesterday morning, it was awful. Any little thing that happens on 66,
Trickle effect.
in either direction, we're the main thoroughfare, and it just backs up. Like the day the bridge was struck. I have had positive feedback from the citizens of my community. They like having it here. They can walk to it. I heard a lot of good feedback about the park with the benches out. That's been a nice touch. So I've heard positive stuff.
I have too.
So Sheets has come back in with their final site plan. We're reviewing that now. The Baptist Church, we received some revised materials from them. Tobaccology, we just got their comments last Friday on their revisions on their site plan. This is for the...
Be submitted?
Correct.
Okay.
So that was a pretty delayed response to our comments that we gave them about a month and a half ago. So those will continue to move forward to you.
So what are we waiting on for those two then? Because if they fixed, did they fix all the comments that you had brought up to them?
I haven't looked at it since Friday.
Okay.
If we can look through it, I think both Holly and I, Holly gave her verbal comments to the Baptist Church today. The remaining issues, there was some, still some minimal detail that we need, so they called, rather than doing the back and forth of writing, they just called. And I believe the applicant's engineer, Baptist Church engineer, is going to go ahead and revise that. We'll do the same with John Davis, which is a tobaccology, just give them the verbal revisions, so to go ahead. So we hope to have that in the next few days. There may be an interest in having a joint meeting on those two applications. Both of them we're hoping to get done by the start of the school year or by the start of Haymarket Day. So I'll keep you posted on that status. Trying to think what else to bring you up to speed on. We already talked about the Harover property. We did shortlist, or actually just selected a engineering firm to look at that engineer design. So we'll continue to keep you updated on that. I think the council, am I allowed to say kind of the council recently about the decision on the site plan here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That was open meeting.
So the council met to talk about the phasing of both the building renovations and the site renovations. The council did approve the preliminary site plan. That's what you reviewed the month before.
Right.
Public hearings for the waivers of landscape buffers. They went ahead and approved that. There's some question about whether or not to continue to move forward with both projects. And I believe it was Monday, Tuesday, that the council decided, they met and went ahead and decided to continue to move forward. That may be at the expense or the delay of more work on the Harover property, but they just made that decision going forward.
Yeah, we're finishing the phases. So we were with our engineer and architect, and they were going through. And phase one was the police department. That's 100% complete. Everything's done with that now. Phase two is the core, which is the lobby, the 2 bathrooms, and I believe the electrical room. And then phase three was the facade, the elevator, stairway, and in here, this council chambers. And so phase two is 100% complete in regards to the plans. Phase three is 95% complete, and should be done shortly. The final site plan review, they're going to be submitting the final site plan, and they finished the prelim and sent it in, and they're looking, Holly said, probably about 9 months, and they'll have the final site plan review for that.
So that'll be good. On a personal note, I have taken a promotion at Loudoun County, so I will be drawing back my role in the town. We have a good problem. We're busy. Loudoun County is also busy, so I want to make sure that we can continue to provide good customer service. I've been challenged over the last year or so to be able to move as quickly as we wanted on many of these plan reviews. That being said, the alternative that I've offered the council, our on-call planning services, that's the Berkeley group. They're the ones doing the zoning ordinance rewrite and the comprehensive plan rewrite. They offer what they call an auxiliary town hall, where they provide professional staffing. And what we're talking to them about is about having someone in here 1 or 2 days a week that can provide that service. One of the biggest challenges or complaints that I hear about my role is that I'm not here on a daily basis. So someone that comes in and has a simple question, they're having to email me or call me, and there's that delay in providing that response. So having someone here 1 or 2 days a week. That being said, the institutional knowledge, this town's got a lot of history, a lot of background, a lot of nuance that I've learned over the 8 years, 9 years I've been doing this. So I will still be involved in providing that background and that context. And so October, I'm anticipating drawing back significantly my role, that takes longer, then we'll work it out then. So and I've also looked at maybe bringing a commissioner or maybe a member of the Architecture Review Board once my role as planner is over. I'm a resident of the town. I'll continue to be a resident of the town. A little obsessive about it, my wife would say. So I appreciate all the support you've given me. Also, the interim town manager, I'm speaking for the council a little bit, Jerry Shiro, have many of you met him yet? He comes with a long history of stepping in and providing interim management. So he'll be here for a period of time to manage the day-to-day operations. And I believe the council has shortlisted some of their candidates for the town manager position as well. So things are moving, things are changing. So be happy to answer any more questions.
Congratulations on the
Congratulations.
promotion. Where in Loudoun County, where are you going to be working?
So right now I'm in the planning and zoning. It's an internal promotion.
Okay.
So I'm also a professional planner for Loudoun County, and I handle a lot of the major redevelopments, the rezonings, the special exceptions. Right now I'm working on amendments to the Brambleton communities, Ashburn, those types of master plannings. I project managed those through the process, took them through public hearings. I've now been promoted to the manager of that group that handles all those major rezonings. So it's a good promotion.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And thank you for all you've done here.
Yeah, just my 2 months on this, I'm very impressed with your knowledge and what you bring to the table.
And you go way above and beyond. I mean, I've seen you do many things on your own personal time with your daughters in tow, so you're a tremendous asset to the town. And I know where you live, so if I need a question, you know where I live, too.
It's a small town. If you
That's
see
right.
me, that's the nice thing about the National Night Out events is it's a lot of that.
Did I miss
exchange.
something?
Minutes approval.
I have one other question
thank you,
about
sir.
sheets.
Sure.
About sheets as well. When are they looking at starting their construction or whatever?
So if they get their final site plan complete probably the next 2 to 3 months, probably within 6 months of today, they'll probably be moving. Now, unfortunately, we originally thought there was going to be some interim period that the pumps would be open. It sounds like the last time they spoke, there was going to be several months where the pumps would not be open. The store will be open, but not the pumps. So, but I think they were slow to respond based on the final design of the interchange, identifying some gas lines easement. They were negotiating with the property owner. So yeah. Also, too, thank you for your service. This is not an easy thing to, I'm sure, I've heard you race back from vacations before to be here. So all of you, your time and commitment. Great to see new faces. We always have the usual suspects, so to have some new blood and some new opinions and ideas is certainly welcome to have. So this isn't goodbye. This is just kind of an announcement of where things are going. So thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
And thanks to Commissioner Carroll. It's my oversight, minutes approval. I got wrapped up in citizens' time.
It's true.
So I
I have a
apologize.
question with Marsan.
Yeah.
Is raining flood, like water from that property, is Fairty Street, they're talking about this one. Is there any plan to the water, how the water goes? You know, when I walk through on the curve and the down on the Gossip Manor, when rain comes, there is a big, kind of looks like a river. You know, it's a big flood goes in there.
So all the water from Washington Street, basically between Fayette and Interchange, most of that goes that way, back toward the highway. And right now, the JB3 property in Giuseppe's all drains into that lot that the Dog's Day Out's going to be on. And they're going to have to pick up that water, deal with their own water management, and then continue to channel it down toward the highway. The highway picks it up, goes under the highway, and then drains into the river system or creek system behind it. So part of their site planning and part of the Department of Environmental Quality, they'll be required to deal with that.
Okay. There, one house, you know, my neighbor, one day I went there, you know, on the raining, I saw big, kind of looks a river, you know, and down the road when they build the building in here, there will be lots of water going down. If there's not managing that, it will be a problem for that house.
So by the Virginia Stormwater Management Handbook, you cannot discharge a higher, you can probably handle it with this, either a higher volume or lesser quality of water treatment. So that's quantity, flow, we can flow faster, and then the treatment of that water has to match the pre-development conditions. Does that make sense? So they do that through either underground detention, they do above-ground detention ponds. There's all sorts of measures that they can do to make sure they meet that requirement. For that very reason, you don't want to flood everyone downstream from you. Unfortunately, it sounds like today there's already quite a volume of water that's going down.
Are they doing curb in the front, on their property in front? Are they doing curb there as
Yes,
well?
sir.
Curb and sidewalk
Curb and gutter.
in the front of their property to
Yes, sir.
tie into the building next door?
Yes, sir. That's a
Okay.
requirement of our subdivision ordinance.
Great, great.
So how big is their entrance?
Someone took my,
I think it's going to be 24 feet.
yeah, it should be, the radius should be in there. And the VDOT requires a certain standard for commercial entrances. So,
Looking from their design, it's, I mean, and I think they said 24 feet, maybe 22 feet. They got 22 up here, and that's about the same. That meets, that'll be plenty of room to get in and out of there.
and again, all that site planning you're going to have to see.
Yeah.
So this isn't your first bite at the apple, so to speak. It's simply the entitlement, and then you'll look at the site planning, and then the ARB will look at the architectural design. So,
All right, well, thank you. Can we look at the minutes quickly, and then we'll wrap it up? Thank you, sir, for bringing that to my attention.
I move to accept the minutes
We have a
from
second?
July 6th.
Second.
I will second it.
All right, Commissioner Shannon, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I move to adjourn the meeting.
I second.
Any opposition? All in favor to adjourn?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you for your time. It's really good meeting.